Hey, welcome back to my channel and back to my home. Today we are doing a little bit of homemaking. I have the day at home to kind of check off some of the things on my list that I've been wanting to do this fall season. I have some really fun fall fabric I got on clearance at Joann's, and I wanted to try my hand at making some homemade beeswax wrap. I also wanted to experiment with freeze drying sourdough starter. We recently got a freeze dryer and I have so many ideas and I want to experiment, so this is my first time trying it out. I'm baking some sourdough bread and gonna share a few of my fall favorites, and then I'm gonna get started on dinner. We're making a really delicious lemon rosemary honey chicken, so it's gonna be a packed video, so let's jump right in. I want to say a quick thanks to the sponsor of this video, Caraway. We have been adding some beautiful new kitchenware to our collection. So today I'm unboxing Caraway's new non-toxic kitchenware. It's their cast iron collection. It's absolutely beautiful, high quality kitchen essentials. And it's incredibly low maintenance, which is really important when it comes to cast iron. There's no seasoning required. It's made with non-toxic enamel, so it's easy to clean with regular soap and water. And the enamel provides protective coating, so you don't have to worry about the pans rusting. This is a huge plus, as cast iron very easily rusts in most cases. PTFE is a man-made chemical that is often found in other household products. It only takes 2.5 minutes on high heat for traditional non-stick pans to emit toxic fumes. When overheated, it releases toxic fumes at a molecular level, meaning you can't see or smell the fumes. So we certainly want to be thoughtful about the cookware we are choosing, and Caraway cookware is free of these harmful chemicals and other toxic materials as well. I highly recommend checking out their set, which comes with the skillet, grill pan, brazier, and Dutch oven, which is what I have here. You can make all sorts of recipes using these essentials in your kitchen. It comes with 2 lids and the 2 wooden organizers, which saves $150 by bundling this set together. If you're interested in looking into adding some non-toxic kitchenware to your collection, save 20% on their new cast iron set and stack on an additional 10% discount with my code. I'll give the link in my description box. Today I'm going to be cooking and baking with some of my new pieces, and of course when it comes to making sourdough bread, you need a cast iron Dutch oven. So let's talk about sourdough bread. I have been on a sourdough bread making kick for the last few months. I'm still kind of getting learning my way around making sourdough, but it's always turned out very well in terms of the taste and texture. I'm just still figuring out my process, but my friend Missy gave me some of her sourdough starter. I keep it in the refrigerator in these weck jars, and then I pull it out. I feed it when I want to make sourdough. So I use 125 grams of starter, 125 grams of water, and I mix that together really well. And then I add 115 grams of flour. I highly recommend getting a scale so that you can measure grams. I mix this together and then I mark it. With sourdough starter, once you mark it, you're going to keep an eye on it for the next few hours because it's going to double in size. The sourdough starter will look bubbly and very, very active, and that's when you know it's time to use it to make your sourdough bread. There's a few different ways to do this. Some people like to pull it out and feed it for a few days in a row before using it. I usually just pull it out, feed it, wait a few hours, and it doubles. But some people keep it out overnight. But yeah, you mark it, and once it doubles in size and looks nice and bubbly, it's ready to use. So typically I only have 1 jar of starter. Today I started 3 additional jars. I'm going to mark them and let them double in size. Once they're active and bubbly, I'm going to do my freeze drying experiment. Trader Joe's just launched all of their fall goodies, and I was beyond ecstatic when I went and saw everything. I picked up a few of my favorites on my recent grocery trip, including the cinnamon broom that I love so much. I love the autumn maple coffee. This is absolutely delicious. I get it every fall. I wanted to try the fall pasta. I got a few of the beauty favorites for an upcoming fall beauty video that I'm going to do on my channel, and some of the herbal tea. I also got some of their fairy tale pumpkins, which are so fun, and I love to stack those on my front porch, and also put the cinnamon broom on the front porch because it makes it smell amazing. I have been using beeswax wraps for years now, and I recently only just discovered they're actually relatively easy to make. So I'm going to share with you how I make them. I found this beautiful fall fabric on clearance at Joann's. You might not be able to tell, but there's actually little tiny white pumpkins on this beige fabric. I'm using my rotary cutter, and I also have a cutting mat, and I did several different sizes so that I have, I can cover different things in my kitchen. So I used, different bowls from the kitchen to trace out the size that I want, and I have several different colors of the fabric. I'm using 2 sheets of parchment paper. I'm going to put a little bit of beeswax, which you can find on Amazon. You only really just need a small handful. You need less than you think you would need. So I put a little bit on the parchment paper. Then I put the pre-cut fabric on top of that. Then I put a little bit more beeswax on top of that so that the beeswax covers the bottom and the top of the fabric. Then I'm going to put parchment paper on top of that because you definitely don't want your iron touching beeswax. That would be very messy. I'm going to make sure that my parchment paper stays still here. That's why I have all of my little gadgets here to keep that down. And I'm going to go ahead and gently iron until the beeswax melts and covers the entire surface of the fabric. I didn't wait very long, maybe 30 seconds before I removed the fabric from the parchment paper, and I have a little setup here so it could dry, but it dries relatively quickly, I'd say within a minute or 2, and then I'm going to continue to do this process to make as many as I need. If you put too much wax, one thing you have to be concerned about is it kind of spilling out the sides of the parchment paper. So you do want to keep the beeswax minimal, but enough that it can cover the fabric. So it might take a little bit of practice, but keep that in mind. And if there's a little leftover beeswax, once it's dry, you can even just take a little knife and scrape it off, and it doesn't affect the overall beeswax wrap. And I love to use these for all sorts of things around the kitchen. And I love how they turned out. I'm going to catch up on reading while I'm still waiting for my sourdough starter. I'm really trying to instill the love of reading to my children by modeling reading regularly. And I recently ordered a bunch of new books. I'll put a list of all of the books that I ordered in my description box so that you can just kind of see what I'm reading and if there's anything that sparks your interest. Right now I'm reading several different books covering a few different topics. So education, child development, parenting. So I've kind of been collecting a few, and I really am trying to model reading and even inviting my kids to sit next to me and read one of their books while I read. So I'm trying to get through these books, and I'll let you know what I think about them. Once my sourdough starter is active, I'm going to start my experiment. We just got our freeze dryer, and we were really interested in getting a HarvestRight FreezeDryer because we kept seeing them at Tractor Supply, and we really want to preserve what's in our garden and several other food preservation options as well, including freezing sourdough starter to share and the incredible shelf life that comes with freeze drying. I also really want to experiment with freeze drying broths or stocks, so kind of like those bouillon cubes. I'm going to do that in a future video. I'm trying a few different methods here. I'm going to put some of it in the molds, the cupcake molds, and I'm also just going to spread some on a tray. And this is my first time using the freeze dryer, so I'm going to experiment with this and see how it turns out. So after my sourdough starter is done freeze drying, I'm going to break it up and put it in one of the preservation bags that comes with the HarvestRight, and I'm also going to seal it so that I can share, I can ship it across the country to my mom, and it has an incredible long shelf life. I'm really looking forward to reconstituting this sourdough starter and seeing how well it worked out. I'll keep you posted, but I'm super excited for more experimentation with the freeze dryer to come. So now once my sourdough has doubled in size, I use 250 grams of sourdough starter, 750 grams of room temperature water, 25 grams of salt, and about 1,000 grams of flour. Bread can be quite tricky depending on humidity and several different factors, so sometimes my dough is still just too wet and hard to handle with this ratio. So I'll pull back to a little less water, maybe 700 grams of water, or even, 680 grams of water, kind of, mess with it a little bit. I'm using a Danish dough whisk, which I found on Amazon. That's what I use to mix the ingredients together. And I like to say sourdough bread is not really hard per se, it's just particular, and so you just have to keep showing up and keep trying. And so once it's fully mixed, I'm gonna cover that and let that sit for an hour. Then I'm going to start my series of stretch and folds. So basically I'm stretching and folding the dough on all 4 sides. I'm covering with a damp cloth for 30 minutes, and then I'm repeating this process over the course of 4 stretch and folds. For the 4th and final stretch and fold, I'm going to do what's called a coil fold. It's lifting the dough and allowing the dough to fold under itself. And you want to do this on all 4 sides. So lift and allow the dough to fold under itself. Cover for 30 minutes. And then I'm going to plop that onto my work surface. I'm going to divide the dough into 2 so I can have 2 small loaves, or you could do 1 large loaf. I'm going to use a bench scraper to gently pull the dough into a rectangular shape. Then I'm going to fold the top in, and then the bottom in, and then the sides over that to kind of hug itself. I'm going to flip my dough so that the smooth side is up and gently form the dough into a ball. Using this motion here, it's kind of like a roll and tuck, almost like if you imagine a candy cane, like you're going up, or a U-turn actually is even better. So we're doing a little U-turn up and tuck. I have 2 pre-floured bannetons or bread baskets. I like to use rice flour for the baskets. Here you can see me pinching the sides of the dough and bringing them to the center, which creates a little bit more surface tension. I put a little bit more rice flour on top, cover, and refrigerate overnight. Then in the morning, I can prepare my Dutch oven. You want to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. I'm using my Caraway Dutch oven here, which is perfect for making sourdough, and also a silicone bread sling for a Dutch oven. I then add with a razor blade my deep expansion scores. This is so that the bread doesn't burst in random places, and I don't get fancy with it because I haven't quite figured out how to get my dough not to drag when I'm doing expansion scores, so we are learning as we go. I'm going to go ahead and bake this, and then I'll have some beautiful sourdough bread. Let's start making our lemon, honey, rosemary chicken recipe. Starting first with a little bit of lemon zest, lemon juice, a little bit of Dijon, olive oil, and some honey. I'm gonna add some rosemary and a little bit of broth and garlic to this, and this is gonna cover the chicken and potatoes. I'm also going to cut up some potatoes. General rule of thumb is 1 or 2 small potatoes per person. I'm gonna prep the chicken legs with some salt and pepper, and I'm gonna use the enamel cast iron braiser, which is the 3.5 quart caraway braiser, which is perfect for a recipe like this. And I'm gonna start with a little bit of butter at the bottom, and I'm just gonna lightly brown these chicken legs. I'm gonna pull them out once they have a little bit of color, and I'm gonna do the same for the potatoes. And then I'm going to put the chicken legs back on top of the potatoes. I'm going to arrange the chicken legs and add some sliced lemon. I'm going to put a little bit of that liquid. I'm going to ladle some of that on so that this has a chance to braise. I'm going to put the lid on and stick that in the oven. It's going to cook for about 45 minutes to an hour. It's not just about the temperature of the chicken at this point, which should be at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it's, you want to measure that with a meat thermometer all the way in the middle of the chicken. But it's also just about it falling off the bone so it has that really braised texture to it, which is what we're looking for. But this turned out really, really amazing, and I am obsessed with this braiser. I'm so happy we do not have one in this size, and this is perfect for dinners like this. I love to add some more freshly chopped herbs on top of this. You can add some rosemary, parsley if you have it, and a little bit of honey on top as well. I can cover for just a few more minutes until I'm ready to serve, and this is a wonderful dinner. So I hope you enjoyed this day at home with me, this fall cozy day where I was able to spend time cooking and baking and homemaking. And if you like my channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you, Caraway, for sponsoring this video. Sponsors really help me out so that I can continue to make consistent content here on my channel. And be sure to check out the link in my description to get the exclusive discount on their new cast iron collection. I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye.